Alright guys, so for lesson 2, 8-10, it's to visualize volume. And again, this is a little bit more difficult because I don't have Unifix cubes that you have at home, but that's fine because this is a pretty good visual. So make sure your journal's open to 8-10, and they're going to kind of walk you through what they mean here by showing you an actual visual of that. So this says, let's explore layers with volume to see even more how we can turn this into an easy equation. So this says you can use layers of cubes to build rectangular prisms. So this is a new word for us to learn. Basically what that means is that this is a rectangle, which is a two-dimensional shape, but if you can figure out how to make it three-dimensional, you now have what's called a rectangular prism, okay? Because it's just got more than two sides, it's a three-dimensional shape. So this says each layer of these rectangular prisms is 4 cubes by 2 cubes, and it says how many cubes make up each prism. So they're telling you that it's got 4 cubes across and it's 2 cubes wide. So if you were to count that, that would be 4 plus 4, which would be 8 cubes in this first layer. Okay. Well, what if they stacked that another one that looked exactly like this right on top of it? Well, we would have another group of 8, which would then turn this to 16 altogether in that one layer. And then if I were to add another one, that would be 24. And if I were to add another one, that would be 32. And if I were to add another one, that would be 40. And if I were to add another one, that would be 48, right? Well, this says the volume of a prism is the number of cubes needed to build the prism, and you're recording that volume in cubic units. We already talked about that yesterday. So now it wants you to write the volume of the prism in cubic units. So basically, let's look at layer 1, which was 4 units wide, 4 units long, 2 units wide, and 1 unit in height. That was 4, and then 2, and then 1. So what's 4 times 2 times 1? That is 8 cubic units. For this next one, it was 4 cubits long, 2 cubes wide, and 2 cubes tall. So what's 4 times 2 times 2? Well, 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. Now, this isn't actually the way that we solved it. We just knew that it was one more group of 8. Well, what's group of mean in math? We oftentimes think of that as multiplication. So really what you guys are doing is multiplying in order to find these new layers. So let's think about this third one. 4 cubes wide. Sorry, I keep saying it doesn't really matter. It's 4 cubes long, it's 2 cubes wide, and it is 1, 2, 3 cubes tall. So that's 4 by 2 by 3. If you've ever helped your parents build something using wood, you've heard them probably talk about like 2x4s or I don't know, any other measurement, but you get the idea. And basically what that's doing is showing you your dimensions of your piece of wood, and then you could maybe have a 2x4 that's 3 inches tall. Well, that would be 4 by 2 by 3. Okay, so that's just a matter of multiplying, and that is really truly volume. So for this one that was 3 layers, that was 4 by 2 by 3, and I could have paused the video, so I do apologize. Nope, not going to do it. It's just like we're in the classroom. Anyway, 4 times 2 times 3, well, that was this 3-layered shape, which was 24 cubic units in total. But I also want to show you how that works with multiplication. What's 4 times 2? That's 8. And what's 8 times 3? That's 24. Same answer. For this 4 layers, it was 4 cubes long, 2 cubes wide, and 4 cubes tall. So that's length times width times height. That's the what we're working toward today. So that was 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32. The next one would have been 4 times 2 is 8, times 5 is 40. That matches right here. And then 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 6 is 48, which matched right here. So if we don't have cubes in front of us, that doesn't mean we can't find volume. We just need to think about the dimensions of those cubes instead. Okay? So let's look at this chart that you now have in your SAB, and this is what I want to show you really quick. What they're telling you is that basically, when you you have a formula to find the volume of any three-dimensional rectangular prism. Okay, let me say that again. You have a formula to help you find the cubic volume of a rectangular prism, which all of these shapes are. Just a reminder for you, you also had a formula to find the area of a shape, and it was length times its width. Well, now we are also going to do its height, which I guess we'll call this dimension right there. Okay, so we'll now have length and width, and then we'll also have height. Don't know why I labeled that one. Okay, so on number 7, they're walking you through the entire thing. The length is 7 feet. That's where you get 7 feet. The width is 4 feet. That's where you get your 4 feet. And the height is 5 feet. That's where you get that 5 feet. And then they're showing you, you just have to multiply 2 numbers. It doesn't actually matter which 2 you do. So for here, in this example, they want you to do 7 times 4 first, which is 28. But 28 times 5 I can't do in my head. But check this out. What if I multiplied 4 times 5 first? That's going to give me 20. And then what's 20 times 7? Well, that I could do in my head. 7 times 2 is 14. And then I tack that 0 onto the end, and we would call that feet cubed. All right? Another thing to remember, this is because it doesn't matter what order you multiply, you still come up with the same answer. So let's look at number 8. The length first is this guy right here, which is 6 centimeters. We don't need to write all the labels. Okay, this next one wanted your width, which is this one right here. That's 15. And then we have this one right here, which is our height, which is 10. That's going to be 10 right there. So that means that I need to do some sort of combination of 6 times 15 times 10. I think no matter what, I'm going to have to solve this off to the side, which is totally fine. So why don't I do 6 times 15 first, and then I can just add a 0 onto the end. So let's do 15 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So this first part is 90, and then 90 times 10 means I just add another 0 onto the back. So my answer is 900, but then this time it's going to be cubic centimeters, because this one was labeling in centimeters. Okay, let's look at 9 through 12. We're going to solve these ones together, and you'll have a different assignment for your homework, or for your extra work today. So for number 9, it wants your length. That's going to be this guy right here, which is 12. Then it wants your width, which is this number right here, which is a 4. We've then got our height, which is another 4. Okay? So again, it doesn't really matter the order in which you multiply, so you can bounce around and do whatever you want. I know that 12 times 4 is 48, so I'm going to go ahead and do 48. And then I would just need to do 48 times my last dimension, which is 4. So 4 times 8 is 32. Carry the 3. Oh gosh. And then 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 plus 3 is 19. So this altogether is going to equal 192. These were meters that I was measuring in, so these are meters cubed. Normally you'd be writing this right next to your numbers, but I'm running out of cubes over there. Or, sorry, room over there. Okay, number 10. I've got my length, which is 5 inches. So I've got 5 inches. I've got my width, which is 4 inches. And I've got my height, which is 8 inches. Okay? So, this time you're going to do 5 times 4 times 8. Hopefully you can see that 5 times 4 is probably the best one to do first, which is going to be 20. And then 20 times 8, that's very easy. That's going to be 16 with a 0 on the end. So that will end up being 160 cubic inches, because I measured in inches this time. This would be a great opportunity for you to actually pause number 11, pause your video. Try to solve number 11 and 12. Remember, it doesn't matter the order that you multiply these in, and you might have to do some work off to the side. But I want you to pause 11 and 12 so you can see if you are getting these correct. This would be a great use of your time, especially since this video will be kind of short. So hopefully you're rejoining after practicing these two on your own. If you haven't yet, do that now. And number 11 wants your length, which is 15, your width, which is 10, your height, which is 7. Then you're going to do 15 times 10 times 7. So I'm just going to multiply the 15 times 7 first. 15 times 7. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10. So that's 105. And then I know anything I multiply by 10 is just going to have a 0 on the end. So that means that my answer oops, go away, is going to be, oh, that was weird, 1050. And those are centimeters cubed. Oh gosh, centimeters cubed. And then let's do this last one. It's this one's pretty easy. All of my dimensions are 6. So 6 inches, 6 inches, and 6 inches. So that means I'm going to multiply these together in any order of 6s. It doesn't actually matter. So 6 times 6 is 36. So you'll end up doing 36 times 6. Okay, so 6 times 6 is 36, carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18, and 18 plus 3 is 21. So that means that this answer is 216 cubic inches. And again, you can write those in lots of different ways. You can say 216 cubic inches. You can write it as 216 inches cubed, or you can write it as 216 cubic, oh, you don't need that little dot, cubic, 216 cubic inches. That can also work, okay? Either one of those is totally fine. So your practice today, 8-10 as an SAB are out because I did all of those with you. But your homework and remembering would be awesome. That'll be the same thing you already just did. Or your other option is you can go check out the IXLs and see if those are going to be good practice for you. Okay? Thanks, guys.